Welcome. My name is Jason Boswell from Micro Focus, and today I'm going to be showing some of the new features of the file analysis suite. And in this data discovery 10-minute demo, we're going to concentrate on the topic of finding and protecting sensitive data. And I really concentrate on the protecting the sensitive data. This is a new feature that we've added recently with the version 3.4. Okay, so let's move on to describe the use case of what we're trying to achieve here. So as the Chief Data Officer, our organization needs to make sure that sensitive data is protected against a release from outside the organization. We need to make sure that if we have sensitive data and it needs to stay in perhaps on the file system or in a particular location, we need to make sure that we need to know where that data is. We need to find out its level of sensitivity, and then to take the appropriate action. Maybe we've done our risk analysis, we've found some data that contains credit cards or passport details or account numbers, and we need to take the appropriate action to encrypt that data so that if it does leave the organization, it becomes unreadable from outside the network. So our task here, first is our discovery phase, where we actually go through and know your data, find out where it is. Second phase is we're going to prioritize some policies to protect that data. So we do a protection action. So these are the same forces that are driving change. We've got increasing volume of data, but also, we've got to keep that data, still let the business operate. So we might be shifting to cloud and modernizing the IT. We might have stricter regulations, but there are certain information, there's certain documents and information that the business needs to operate. So we're going to still let them operate and use that information, but we're going to manage that sensitive data in the appropriate way. And that builds a kind of a trust with our customers. It builds a trust with our shareholders. So we're protecting our brand, we're protecting our reputation by controlling that dark data, controlling that data in silos, but still leaving the business to operate. Okay, so let's dive into it now and look at, and we'll go straight into the product and show you the demonstration. Okay, so we're here in the file analysis suite data discovery product. And today we're going to be connecting to some data, and then we're going to take in some action to manage that data and do those protection actions. Okay, so very quickly show you that we're just orientating my system. I've had my system administrator connect to a number of repositories. I've got a few different repositories here in Teams, Connect, Content Manager, Exchange, and the file system. Okay, so that's all done. When they were analyzing the data, we were looking for particular grammars of particular areas. So I've asked them to look for contact data, financial data, government data, so all the passport data, that type of information. And I've actually defined some level of sensitivity with each one of those. So I've said bank account numbers are highly sensitive. So we got to concentrate on looking for these things that are highly sensitive. So we've set the system to ultimately create these tags and look for this information. And then we go to the analysis to find that information and take appropriate action. So where is our sensitive data? We got to know our data. So we can see that most of our data is sitting on this file system here. Going through on the analyze section and showing me this is our analyze sensitive data dashboard. I can see over the last 6 months how my data is growing and how it's been analyzed. So let's concentrate perhaps on this file system and actually, is there a particular area of the file system? Yeah, the finance file system. If we just turn off the partially sensitive, commercially sensitive, and you can see, so there's actually the finance system. We'll concentrate on the finance file system and look for this type of information, okay, that contains a particular level of sensitivity. To do that, we go through to the manage section. So the analyze section enables me as an overview of the systems. We can look for that information and see what's the level of sensitivity of that information. But how do I take that action? Here we go through to the manage section to take the action. I'm going to really concentrate now on the protection actions. So we've done a number of different operations here. We've done some risk assessments and we've done some data cleanup activities, but now we concentrate on this finance department, and I've got we've got a risk assessment here. We're doing some risk analysis, and here we've got the finance file system with some test data in to show you how it is here. So we've got a timeline here showing me how much the data and the file types, which is great. It shows me the structure of the data, and I can get an idea of the type of actions I want to take. I may find if you look at the timeline, for example, the older stuff I may be able to delete, but the stuff that's still in operation, the more stuff that's still being used or just recently created, I perhaps can't delete. So I need to take a different form of action to protect that data. We can then start to look at this not in terms of its age and its metadata, but look at its content to see its level of sensitivity. And we wanted to concentrate on these bank account numbers and credit cards and the things that contain very highly sensitive data. So these are the ones that are in this highly sensitive. We've got 24 out of these 4,000 documents that contain highly sensitive data. We can click on these to see the value of their sensitivity. Okay, so we're driving now into the details here, and all these ones of high sensitivity, I'm not surprised. They've got a high risk score. Why have they got a high risk score? Because they contain bank account numbers and sort codes. And in the visual here, I can actually see where they are and even highlight some of the items. Yeah, definitely. We've got a spreadsheet with sort code and account number columns. So we're confident that there's some issues here that we need to deal with. I want to break that down into how we want to deal with the issues. So I might say I only want to deal with particular types or particular file system repository types. I could say, well, let's just deal with the file system stuff first. So the stuff that's sitting on a file system here. And you can see immediately that in here that all these items contain a level of sensitivity, but you can just see there's a lock icon that one of these has actually already been protected. So this is something that I've already done, and I can see this in the metadata details here. So I can see that, let me click on the one that is protected. There we go. And I scroll down on the right hand side here, you can see this. We've already have a file protection policy been applied. So how do we do that? How do we apply that type of policy to protect that data? So let's take the one that isn't protected. All we need to be able to do is select that item and say, add the item. So add the selected item to workbook, and we'll add the item to be encrypted. Okay. If I do that, it adds it to the encryption and it adds this to the workbook. What is a workbook? We can click on the workbook sections here. A workbook is a set of groups of documents that we take through a predefined process. So that one document that I protected here, you can see this is one that I already completed. I scroll across the right hand side, you can see what I actually did. So I clicked on the document, the group, and I took the actions. In previous demonstrations, you might have seen me move files into another location. You might have seen me do some cleanup and delete the files. We might have done some enrichment, but this action we do to take a protection action on. So we could protect that individual file. And that's what I did here, and this one was protected. Now, you don't have to do it as a manual process, find the files using searching and assign them. We have some automatic classification criteria here. So these are, if you're correct, we have these as examples. So these is so all the files that come through passport details and perhaps all the files that include credit card details. Now these are automatically defined, so nobody's gone ahead and created these, assigned these manually. We've got a set of criteria that finds them. So we can look at that criteria. Let's look at this one here. So here the criteria is that I'm looking for anything that's got credit card numbers in. We can confirm that they've got credit card numbers in by clicking on this one here. And here we've got this item. It must have a high risk score, I would suggest. Yes, it's got a very high risk score. And we can see where the credit card number is. Okay, so here's the credit card number. It's right at the top of the document, but it's also got this, the CVV number, expiry date, and the name. So this is dangerous information that we need to be protected. In this case, I don't have to manually select anything. This is all done for me. It's automatically found this, put this in this group, in this workbook, ready for me to take this action. And the action that I want to do is to encrypt this so no one can read this outside the organization. All I need to be able to do is click the protect action. And this, first it prevents me with a list of policies that are available for me to apply. So I'm going to apply the secret policy, which means that anybody outside the organization will know, once I apply this policy, won't be able to read this document. Everybody in the organization can read it because they've got the key to open the encryption, but anyone outside the organization will not be able to read this. Of course, I need to, before I'm taking this action, and this is one document in the list, but there could be thousands, hundreds of thousands of documents in this list. So before we go take this action, we usually need to go through an approval cycle, and I'll submit that for approval. Okay, so if we scroll back to where we started here, we've got some documents that are protected. We've found information that relate to a level of sensitivity, and we were given the ability to protect that information by applying policies that encrypt that data so it's not read outside the organization. Okay, so thank you very much for listening. I hope you enjoyed that. I think it's a really important new feature of the product to connect to data, analyze it, know your data, and then take the actions, and the new action to protect the data is available with the product today. Thank you very much. Bye for now.